This is Jonah chapter 1, verse 12, and this is Jonah speaking to the sailors. He said to them, "Pick me up and hurl me into the sea, and then the sea will quiet down for you. For I know it's because of me that this great tempest or this great storm has come upon you." So the storm was raging around the boat. The men were somewhat convinced that Jonah's God was punishing them all with the storm because of Jonah's actions. And so they asked Jonah what they should do to him to make things better. Now here in verse 12, Jonah gives them the answer. Now, regardless of whether Jonah happened to be offended when the men interrogated him in verse 8, and regardless whether he happened to respond with a sense of pride about himself in verse 9, by this point, Jonah appears to be very humbled. Now, I'm not sure if God revealed to him what needed to be done when he was in a deep sleep earlier, or if God revealed it some other way, but somehow Jonah seems to have understood that God's solution to saving the men from the danger of the storm was for them to throw him overboard. And so, he told them what they needed to do. Can you imagine that? Jonah had come to accept that he had messed up, and it was probably very humbling. When we come to the realization of some sin in our lives as we stand in the presence of God, because we really can't flee from his presence, especially when you look at a passage like Psalm 139, verses 7 to 12. So when we come to this realization of some sin in our lives as we stand in the presence of God, should it be a humbling experience? Or should we take it lightly, since the Bible teaches that God is love? Well, as you meditate on this passage, I want you to think about how that it's a serious matter to disregard God's instructions. And think about that throughout your day. And as you respond in prayer to this passage, tell God that you like his holiness, that he's consistently set apart from sin in his character. This is praise. And ask God to help you be more humble and more mindful of your absolute need for him to transform you into a person of holiness. Ask him to remind you more that it's a big deal to disregard God's direction for your life. And step out in faith. Do your best today to be the person who God has called you to be.